Azerbaijan is not a country that is familiar to most people in this world, and before I came here, I knew absolutely nothing about it. Once I arrived, I was greeted with surprises and was amazed at what I discovered. In this video, I want to share with you everything that I think is great about Azerbaijan, just a few things that I think aren't so great, both about visiting the country as a tourist and also about everyday life here. The bread. It might seem silly to you that I'm starting this video by talking about bread, but anyone who has had bread in Azerbaijan will understand why. The bread here is so fresh and so delicious, and it is often baked by sticking the bread dough to the side of a clay oven called a tandir, like you see here. Many of the grocery stores even make bread in these ovens right inside the store. I especially love this flat bread in Azerbaijan that is stuffed with cheese. It's called 𝗟𝗃𝗏. And what is this? It just looks like a boring bread pastry, right? But take a bite and you'll discover it is filled with all kinds of delicious spices and seasonings. It's called 𝗟𝗶𝗃𝗏, by the way. And here is another pastry I love, especially for dessert, called 𝗟𝗶𝗃𝗏, stuffed with hazelnuts, walnuts, and sugar. You've heard the phrase, man cannot live on bread alone, but that's simply not true here in Azerbaijan. It's so modern. So yeah, this was the biggest surprise for me about Azerbaijan, the modern buildings in Baku. And of course, the three most recognizable buildings here are going to be the Flame Towers, which completely dominate Baku's skyline. And look what happens at night. The Flame Towers appear to be lit up in flames. There is also the Crescent Hotel, which as you can see, and as the name suggests, is in the shape of a crescent moon. And take a look at the shape of this building here. Have you ever seen anything like this before? It reminds me of the graphs that I would draw in the calculus class that I used to teach. This building is kind of part cultural center, part museum, part auditorium, and part cloth blowing machine that blows these huge cloths up into the air. There are modern shopping malls scattered throughout the city. This mall is in the shape of a lotus flower, and there is a huge amount of new construction happening all over the city. But there are two other sides to this apparent modernism. I'll talk about one other side in the next section of the video and another toward the end of the video, so stay tuned. The Old Town. So one of the flip sides to Baku's modern side is the Old Town, mostly built in the 12th century. And what's my favorite part of the Old Town, you might ask? It's wandering down the alleyways that are away from the main pedestrian area. The icon of the Old Town here in Baku is the Maiden Tower. Everyone who comes to the Old Town comes to see this tower. Another fantastic site in the Old Town is the Muhammad Mosque, and is the first mosque built in Baku, but no longer in use today. A nearby mosque that is in use today is the Juma Mosque, closed during the communist years and then reopened again in the early 90s. One of the most fascinating sites in the Old Town is the Palace of the Shirvanshahs. To make a long story short, the head honcho back in Azerbaijan's ancient history was 𝗟𝗶𝗃𝗏, and when an earthquake demolished the former capital city, he decided to move the capital east to Baku and build a palace. One tip, there is a small passageway that leads down from near the main entrance that I almost missed because it's slightly hidden, but it leads to some of the most interesting parts of the complex, so make the effort to find it. The language. One of the first things that I noticed when I walked through the airport and looked at the signs is that the language is similar to Turkish. My wife and I are currently living in Turkey, also known as Turkey, and we are trying to learn Turkish. I am nowhere near being fluent in Turkish, not even close, but do know enough so that I had some familiarity with the language in Azerbaijan. English is not too widely spoken, especially in the neighborhoods outside the tourist areas, so anyone planning a long-term stay here would be better off learning some of the Azerbaijani language. The traffic. The traffic congestion in Baku during rush hour is some of the worst that I have ever seen. Was I just unlucky? Just happened to be here when there was an unusually high level of traffic problems? I don't know, but I saw a lot of traffic jams while here in Baku, not just one or two, even on the weekends and during the middle of the day. Sometimes it was so bad that people would get out of their cars and start talking to each other because it was obvious they weren't moving anytime soon. But I do have to say that the public transportation in Baku is quite impressive for a city this size, with a modern metro system and an adequate bus network as well. The entry requirements. I, as an American, was required to get a visa in order to visit Azerbaijan. I got it online and it only costs $29 right now, but I just wanted to go to Azerbaijan without filling out forms, so this was kind of a hassle. Looking into the requirements to move to Azerbaijan and live here long-term, the rules aren't too bad compared to many other countries. One way to qualify for residency is to take $59,000 and either deposit it into a local bank or use it to buy property. When my wife and I moved to Turkey in 2022, there was no minimum property value required, but now it's all the way up to $200,000 in Turkey at the moment. So Azerbaijan's $59,000 requirement doesn't seem that bad. The cost of living. If somebody asked me if Azerbaijan is expensive or cheap, I would have to give two different answers. It isn't really expensive by international standards, but to someone earning wages here, it's not quite as affordable because salaries are low. For a two-bedroom apartment in a new building, we're looking at prices around $500 to $700 per month on a one-year lease, or around $100,000 to $150,000 to purchase. And of course, a unit in an older building would cost considerably less. A meal in a restaurant can be under $5, and a ride on the bus, only about 30 cents. So cheap. Overall, based on my experience here, I think something in the $1,300 to $1,500 range per month would be required for Emily and I based on our particular lifestyle, but everyone is different, and I'll put our sample budget in the description below. Quick-fire categories. The friendliness of the people is a definite pro. Everyone I interacted with was very pleasant. The people in general have a great spirit and seem to be enjoying life. Internet speeds were mixed for me, usually fast but sometimes slow. Safety is another pro. The crime rate is fairly low compared to many other countries. I felt safe here walking around at night, even by myself. You may have noticed that I didn't show you any video clips of the metro, and that is because there are some freedom restrictions, including photography restrictions, which I think is a con. Another pro for Americans is that the currency is pegged to the US dollar, so you don't have to worry about volatile exchange rates impacting your finances in Azerbaijan. Baku is one of the windiest cities in the world, and I don't like the wind. Earlier in this video, I mentioned the modern side of Azerbaijan, but there are some deteriorating neighborhoods as well, possibly a side effect from being under Soviet control for so long in its history. Baku's promenade along the Caspian Sea is one of the best promenades I've seen anywhere in the world, very relaxing and quiet in the mornings, and a lot of activity in the afternoons and evenings. Healthcare is mixed. I don't have any personal experience, but from what I have researched, the public hospitals are not fabulous, and private hospitals probably have a higher level of quality. And although Baku has a fabulous airport, Azerbaijan's remote location can make it difficult to get to certain parts of the world. One of the most fascinating museums I have ever been to is the Museum of Miniature Books. This book here is about the size of my pinky finger. Emily wasn't with me here in Azerbaijan because she was away on another trip with a friend, but I really wish she could have come to this museum because she loves things like this. But that does give us a reason to come back to Azerbaijan in the future to experience everything that this country has to offer.